I saw a video the other day that really got me thinking, which honestly is my favorite type of video because I hardly see stuff like that on YouTube anymore. Maybe it's because it's hard to trek through the dense slop on media platforms nowadays. I don't know. Anyway, here's the video. It's titled The Most Dangerous Mindset I See as a Therapist by LS Author, and it's a pretty short watch, so if you find this video interesting, go check it out. What I'm here to cover today isn't the main point of his video though, which was over the newer generation's tendency to use AI, watch storm-burn content, play video games, all as a way to escape from reality. I'm here to cover that last example, in particular, video games, and more precisely, what makes a game worth playing. I think this topic is super fun, particularly because I have examples in mind of games from the deepest depths of Tartarus to descendants from the pearly gates. I would argue that most hobbies are pretty cut and dry for the most part about how they can be classified as productive or not. Gambling and alcoholism have very few merits with major health concerns, while reading, physical sports, and cooking all pretty easily fall into the productive category. I think it's best to start by briefly defining what I mean by worthwhile. In my opinion, a hobby must be an effective and/or productive use of time in order to be worthwhile. Reading is worthwhile as it can broaden perspective via storytelling. It can open worldviews if applied to real life, be it fiction or not, if their themes reach you. They can also boost creativity and inspire people to do their own works. That goes for arts in general, but you get the idea. Sports are productive as it's a fun way to exercise and be active, which in turn has health benefits. Then there's stuff like doom scrolling. Although it fires on all cylinders in the dopamine department, and admittedly is really helpful in cultivating humor and my collection of dumb shit. Doing it in excess can be genuinely exhausting. Sometimes I'll catch myself on YouTube Shorts for a whole hour and get irritated that it took me so long to catch myself and stop. I do want to make a point that 99% of hobbies aren't inherently bad, and some can be quite alright if regulated properly. However, this video serves more of an argument as to how video games do not always fall into the same tier as doom scrolling or other addictive in nature hobbies, much unlike the stigma surrounding them seems to suggest. Here's a very precise graphic to help visualize the types of games I like to discuss. On the far right, we have actually well-made / life-altering games, and on the left we have super hell. So, without further ado, let's just get super hell over with. I don't like being around here for long. Rainworld Roblox games, shitty mobile games, actually just shit games in general, and also competitive games that make you punch your monitor. We'll get to those in a second though, as they're a little more complicated. Games that are purely aimed to activate neurons in your brain, because we as humans for some reason covet numbers that reach cosmic scales, without regard for effort or your respect, are without a doubt the bottom of the barrel. There's no soul or passion within these games. They're purely made to be predatory in nature, whether it's from conception or big companies buy the IP and make it out to be a cash grab. These games don't think of you as a person, just a statistic with dollar signs attached. Sometimes I actually enjoy playing shitty Roblox games because it's fun in a satirical way just to see how far gone some Roblox devs are. What the fuck is B-Fish? What is this? This is awful in every conceivable way. It's ripped off Agar.io. There's gambling and microtransactions galore. And there's bare minimum effort in the designs just to scrape by, hoping you ignore them to mindlessly play it for hours. And it's terribly balanced. What the fuck is this? These type of games are genuinely brain-eating amoeba. Don't touch them unless you feel like occasionally laughing at just how bad they are. Then we have competitive PvP games, and this can kind of vary a lot. I think there genuinely is merit to perfecting a craft, even if it's niche, and the skills you derive from pouring hours into grinding don't translate anywhere else. We'll get more into pushing yourself later, as I'm sure you're aware how biased I am. But Ito does differ in that it's a solo venture, and to me that matters a lot. In player versus player situations, there are so many factors outside of your control that, depending on the game, can be unimaginably egregious to put yourself through. Things like matchups, what map is picked, balancing, and oh boy is balancing volatile. Or God forbid, internet/performance issues holding you back. All of these things can kill your mood instantly. Let's take one particularly nasty example to serve as proof of how dreadful these games can be. Valorant. I have personal experience with this game, over 400 hours back in 2021, and no, I'm not proud. So I think I have a fair say over the game as a whole. To talk about its good points, though, although it's not perfect, I do think balancing is honestly pretty solid, and the esports scene is genuinely fun to watch. The overall design and art of the game is very pretty too. The main problem comes within the fact that it's a team game. For some inexplicable, almost evil reason, competitive team games pull the most dastardly, scandal-mongering fiends from Super Tartarus to ensure that you have as least fun as possible. There's a weird psychological phenomenon in these games where the idea of playing the game is fun. Good team play, hitting all your shots, clutching up and winning games. But 90% of the time you sit there for 40 minutes waiting to get the hell out of this evil lobby with people just yelling slurs because they died and somehow it's your fault. Games like Valorant are fun in concept, right? From a worthwhile standpoint, they may teach you teamwork, mechanical ability, and reaction time, but these merits are present in the vast majority of games, and you don't have to go through nearly as much as a headache to get them. In order to find games that I believe you can play and genuinely take something away from it, we must find games that either find a way to make learning fun, tell you a story, or teach you self-betterment. Minecraft. A simple game in and out. And beloved by many, rightfully so. Punch trees, craft tools, get ores, grow farms, build beautiful structures limited only by your imagination and lack of spirits, I guess. And after all you've accomplished and been through, one day you can look back to see the sun rise on a world of your own creation. To me, this game was pretty important to my childhood. It really let my imagination run free. I never stopped building or getting curious about things or just having fun exploring. It also weirdly taught me a lot about general concepts of things, like science, I guess. Why? Like how water plus lava equals obsidian, or how sand plus fire equals glass, how arrows are made, how to take care of crops and animals, how the birds and bees work. I think, anyway. Honestly, Minecraft is pretty phenomenal for just how simple it is. If I had a kid and I could only make them play one game, it would probably be this one. Next, a little more mature. This game is titled Slay the Princess. The premise is, you, the player, are told by the narrator that there is a princess locked up in the basement of a cabin, and if you don't kill her, the entire world will end. It is up to you whether or not you trust the narrator, but each choice matters, and your perspective shifts what outcome you will get. I won't get into spoilers, as I highly recommend trying it for yourself, even if you aren't into games. This game taught me so much about sociology and how our perception of others and ourselves matters. It taught me that humans are infinite in nature, and your choices can genuinely help shape one another depending on how much you stop and consider what they might be thinking, instead of taking their situation at face value. Because there's so much more to each other than just the information you're provided at first glance. Forgive me for being vague, I really wish not to spoil. I think games are genuinely worth playing because of gyms like these. Even if only 1 in 1,000 games resonate with you this strongly, to me, it makes it all worth it. This was also the first and only game to ever make me cry. Now, as great as the game is, I can't guarantee you'll find it to be as touching as I did. But hopefully you have also played a game in your life that has been life-changing to you because of its story. Lastly, we all knew it was coming. Eternal Towers of Hell. If you've watched my other video, you probably already know how I feel for the most part, but I'll try to briefly encapsulate here why I love it so dearly specifically, because I think it's a good opportunity to do so. Eternal Towers of Hell is a simple game all about climbing 10-floor towers that offer no checkpoints, and depending on the tower, range from anyone with a keyboard can do it, to genuinely needing thousands of hours of experience to be ready. Roblox, as a platform, is shit. Most of the games on there are as demeritable as they get and can offer you nothing more than mindless entertainment. This game, to me though, is genuinely different. The best comparison to it may just be rock climbing itself. The challenges you face, every roadblock and obstacle you encounter, is entirely dependent on you and your ability to overcome it. Nobody will save you if you fall. That being said, however, it holds a special place in my heart because of how much freedom I feel when overcoming such a hard tower. This game taught me real perseverance. It taught me that the impossible may just need perspective, time, and effort to become actually doable. I think that many who speak on how nothing is impossible have their own reasons and belief as to why, but this one is mine. I think the best example of that is soul-crushing towers. Ito is a different beast entirely than other Roblox obbies, and within Ito, the toughest towers are always available to you, even if they're hard to find. And yet, it stays out of reach of your ability. But the more you climb, the more experiences you have, the more mechanics you're used to carving into your muscle memory. That impossibility you set out for all those months ago is just before your very eyes, and all it takes is one last push to grasp it. Although, I'll level with you, many things in this game are still, and very well may stay, impossible for me. It's also important to punctuate why this game in particular's style of difficulty I find to be so satisfying / rewarding. There are plenty of other games that could be described in the same way, like Bennett Foddy, for example, as being difficult and frustrating, but rewarding once you push yourself to the limits. Ito stands apart from the others to me as you get to plainly choose whatever challenge you want to do. If there's a tower you dislike, do it to its thin stud spam, its terrible balance and difficulty, or even if it's something as simple as you don't like long towers. There are over 400 different ones to choose from. Plus, there's the added fact that Roblox physics themselves, although questionable, feel so satisfying and mechanically precise to me. Geometry Dash is surprisingly close to Ito in this regard, and if I wasn't someone who had spent years prior on Roblox, I could easily see myself being wrapped up in that game instead. But we're getting off topic. So, as long as you stay away from the wastelands, I genuinely think video games are pretty okay. I do want to touch briefly on the fact that, at the end of the day, hobbies are meant to be fun. As long as you aren't hurting yourself or anyone else, who really cares? If you have tried all the games I consider to be good or worthwhile, and you still think they pale in comparison to something like Clash Royale, well, admittedly, I think you need to learn a little bit of self-respect. But that aside, there's no real harm in doing so. And, well, this goes for any game. Don't play too much. The world is far too big for you to possibly experience it all within the confines of a computer screen. Don't get me wrong, I'm not going to sit here and lecture you on how books or sports are far more worthwhile uses of time, or how to spend your free time in general, because, in my opinion, that argument can just kind of fizzle out into how we should all work constantly 24/7 and doing hobbies is pointless in general. But they aren't pointless, right? If anything, we work really hard so that we can enjoy our hobbies. It goes both ways though. I've been in a position where all I did for a period was goof off, play games, and sleep. This is kind of its own topic, especially if we want to go in depth, and I'm no expert, but take it from someone who's experienced it personally. Not being productive at all super sucks. It makes you feel like shit all the time. You might be thinking, dude, if someone is chronically online enough to sit and watch this with a straight face, your argument is probably reaching the wrong audience. And I could not agree more. This video is kind of aimed for people who are firm believers in the rhetoric that all video games do is cause harm for the younger generation. But I also know that everyone here already watching probably knows that that isn't true. I suppose it's just more food for thought then. So, if you are to take anything away from this video, I think it's the ability to better gauge which hobbies you believe are worthwhile uses of time. If you ever find yourself in a debate with somebody who's rational enough to believe hobbies are worthwhile, so long as you can take something away from them, you can be like, hey, I remember this one YouTube video that told me what to believe, and then just recite my entire video. No, sorry, not actually. I'm sorry, my bad. Just try to think of what games have been truly life-changing to you and why. As a matter of fact, please let me know in the comments what games are your personal examples of why video games are worthwhile. I'd love to read them all. The rest of this video is just me talking about shit I've done in Ito as of late, so if you are into that, you should watch the rest of the video anyway, because I'm awesome. I have a plan for building all the way up to catastrophic difficulty. Truthfully, I actually initially tried to jump to TODIE with TOWW being my hardest, but after grinding that for like 34 days and 4-4 being my PB, it was kind of clear that I needed way more, like, skill, I guess? I don't know what to call it. Whatever it was, I just needed more achievements under my belt in order to get to that level. I could probably do TODIE if I sat down and grinded that for 2 months, but admittedly that sounds miserable and I do not want to do that. So instead, here's what I have done already and here's what I plan to do. I'm pretty sure I can beat a catastrophic tower so long as I meet these conditions, right? 1. Beat 5 terrifying towers. 2. Get a new hardest above TOWW. 3. Build specifically consistency and camera control. I think beating a kata should come naturally after beating 5 terrifying towers, but if it's still out of reach by then, I'll for sure focus on building better consistency and camera control. I'm not sure how that would go if I already get way better from beating 3 more terrifyings, but, you know. And you heard correctly, I just recently beat my 2nd terrifying tower, which was Tower of Alien Radiance. I more or less changed my mind on this being an annoying tower to grind. I'm not exactly sure what changed after I beat TOWW, but it's like something unlocked in my brain, and the jumps just make sense to me now. It's also kind of scary how quickly I got consistent at it. I can't give you an exact estimate of how long I spent grinding it, because I more or less just grind whenever I have free time now, but not nearly as long as TOWW, and potentially a bit shorter than the week-long grind that was TOEI, at least in terms of hours spent in game. I mean, the personal best I got looked like this. The first 2 to 3 days I got to like 4-3, and then the day after I got to 4-7, and then the day after that I got a run that lasted 88 minutes, getting to 8, 9, and 10 respectively. Although the entire run itself was a progress fluke from 4-7 to 10, it was not without falling at least 10 times total, and one of them was all the way back to 4-1. As for my thoughts on TOR, it's a great tower in retrospect. I still think it may be a bit iffy for a first Terry, but if you're comfortably sitting above Terry level, I'd highly recommend it. Many jumps and janky sections become much easier if you devise like proper strategies. They aren't anything too complicated either. For example, some really sketch jumps that discouraged me from doing the tower in the first place was this backwards wrap and grabbing the ladder on 4-5 and this cylinder thingy on 4-8. If you do them right, they become infinitely more consistent. Here on 4-5, although this jump looks bad, as long as you quickly turn in and start holding W as soon as you turn your camera, you should have no trouble getting it down consistently. To practice it, I recommend doing this entire section a few times in its entirety in the practice place. For the 4-8 thing, what I initially thought you had to do was wrap all the way around it and then awkwardly like grab the ledge without bouncing off. But there is a much easier way for both parts of this section. Instead of wrapping all the way around awkwardly, you can simply like kind of ledge grab the cylinder here or just hold W and you should like pop right up. And after that, get past this little lip and make sure you're static in this position and then simply turn your camera without moving at all. It should perfectly put you in a ledge grab. Just don't turn at like rock pace though, because then you'll get dropped. Anyway, great tower. Don't immediately dismiss it because of the jank. It's actually pretty forgiving for the most part. That aside, as you could probably tell from the background footage, I also beat Tower of Rain on my world. It's a great tower. I love it to pieces. For a soul-crushing tower, it is surprisingly relaxing to do, you know? It's a nice way to pass the time due to all the button progress and mini-nets the tower gives you. Sure, most of the jumps are rough, but I still think it's really fun. I especially like the fact that the music in this tower is sectioned off between the different zones rather than having only one track per floor. It's a really unique way to add atmosphere. The tracks from the game Rainworld are in this tower, as well as sometimes in the back of this video. And like, what can I say? They sound phenomenal. I also beat Tower of Unsettling Heights, which I flew through. It literally took a single day. I just practiced 7 through 10 for an hour or so, and then flipped the entire tower in a single run. The last soul-crushing tower that took me less than 2 hours in-game was Tower of Hollow Reformations, but that still took me an hour and a half to beat. TOUH literally took me 30 minutes. I also beat TOAAA, even though I admittedly need to rebeat it. I say that because I use a Lodge Escape on the 410 GBJ. I'm not saying this completely invalidates this achievement, because the rest of the tower is pretty tough, especially this stupid fucking part on 4-3, and I didn't nearly lock in hard enough on the dice. So I'd say my completion probably gets moved down to high insane or something. It's still noteworthy, but I need more actually difficult achievements to prepare for Kata. And for some reason I also rebeat TOBK. I don't know, I don't have any footage for this, it just kind of happened, whatever. So yeah, 4 new SCs is the news at this time of year. I don't know exactly how soon my next video will release, but don't expect this level of progress to happen again, because I've been kind of looking on the last few. But if I do have something noteworthy, I'll for sure let you all know. With that being said, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next month. Maybe. Also, no Christmas, man, it's way too fucking late for that.